Well, welcome, one and all people watching. This is the first, I guess, episode 0, you would call it. Zero value D&D stream. I'll just go over a little bit about what I'm going to be doing, and then we'll actually crack on, and I'll start turning down this nondescript Witcher music. Royalty-free nondescript Witcher music. So this will start to go down. We'll just have this little bit in the background just every now and then. So, I guess you're wondering, what is this? Well, about probably 2 months ago now. Bloody hell, the year's going on, isn't it? Some friends of mine and myself decided to do a little bit of ye old D&D. If you don't know what D&D is, I don't know why you're watching this, but Dungeons and Dragons, a roleplay, normally tabletop game. So, what started off as a little bit of an idea of a one-shot quickly grew into a little bit more than that, and then went from being a multiple-part one-shot to eventually blowing open into an entire campaign, or at least that's the plan. The plan is for it to be an entire campaign. After a few, I'd say 2-3 sessions in, we came to the realization that this was pretty good. And questions were getting thrown around for people who wanted it to be streamed. At first, I wasn't really sure how to feel about it. I'm not really all that big on streaming of the D&Ds. I know that certain groups do it and do really well and kind of almost have a market on that kind of thing. But I figured, you know what, I'll look into it. Can't hurt to see if it's possible and how to go about doing something like that. So I looked into it after tweaking a little bit with Streamlabs. It is, in fact, possible. It's just a little bit of work that needs to be done. So I asked if people wanted me to do it. The people who are part of it said they thought that sounded like a good idea. One random person on a random comment about it said, I would like to see this. Don't know who that person was. This is for you, whoever that person was. So, we're going to now be streaming it. But, of course, sessions have already happened. And I'm not going to restart the entire thing just so that people can watch it from the very beginning. So instead, I decided, you know what, I will do a little startup. I'll do an episode 0, if you will, to explain a little bit about the world, a little bit about the characters that we have, and just catch people up on what's going on. So that when you get dumped into the fact that they're in the middle of a dungeon, you won't be confused and worried and have no idea who is who. Little disclaimer. Before I get into this and before I end up starting streaming the D&D in general, it very much is an 18 plus mature viewing. There is inappropriate jokes, inappropriate references of an adult nature. Prolapse gets thrown around a lot. So if anyone does watch this that is maybe a little bit squeamish, maybe doesn't really like those kind of topics or that kind of stuff, maybe stay away. I don't know if that was picked up, as so as it was, but whatever. Maybe just stay away if that's not your type of thing. I will also say, getting it out of the way as a disclaimer, I personally, as a DM, I am the DM for the campaign, see the rulebook and the monster guide as something to consider. Something to help set a foundation. I by no means stick to the rulebook, stick to the monster manual. I occasionally make tweaks to monsters that the individuals fight, or little tweaks to the rules. I feel like, at the end of the day, that this campaign isn't a big, serious, Dark Souls-esque campaign. This campaign is about people having fun, people having a good time. So I figured, why not tweak the rules so that idea that a player has where they want to have crab armor can be made real. There's no rules that dictates how crab armor works, so I'll put crab armor in however I damn well feel like, because I'm God in this world. That being said, maybe it's time you get a bit of an understanding of exactly the world that this takes place in. So, as you can probably tell by the stream title, the world that all the characters inhabit is a world called Drelek. It sounds like Drangleic because it's a Dark Souls reference. I make a lot of references to a lot of things I like in my campaign. Some people say it robs it of creativity. I say it doubles down on the creativity. So, we are going to move away from this lovely image of the gang starter campaign, and we're going to do the one thing that I remember from school more than anything else, more than the parts of a plant cell. If you want to convey information about something, how do you do it? You make a slideshow. So we are now going to go to a slideshow, and we're going to start this slideshow from the very beginning. So let's start this slideshow. But I need to open up something else because the world of Drelek will be explored, and it needs to be explored in the best possible way. And to do that via slideshow, well, I think you need to do it with Star Wars, really. Okay, that's enough of the kazoo version of Star Wars. God, that's loud. Okay, anyway, so we will go straight to the slide that we're already on. Now that I've managed to get my dumb Star Wars joke out of the way, yes, I come on, I saw an opportunity and I took it. So, welcome to Drelek. The year is 1497. A relative peace covers the world with only minor conflict causing any concern. However, peace never lasts long, and the western continent of Gregoria is under threat. Goblin raiders strike out from their caves, causing chaos in the furthest villages. Local leaders have placed bounties on each goblin head handed in, but the green tide seems endless. Rumors swell that an army of hobgoblins are preparing an invasion of Gregoria. Long has the human nation been protected by the vast ocean that separates it from the eastern land known as the Red Sands. Some claim the hobgoblin rumors are just that. Others say that should the Great Sea be crossed, Gregoria would fall. More concerning is the sudden appearance of dragons. Normally, the ancient beasts dwell in the frozen wastes known as the Drake's Word. But in the last years, several have been seen flying over human territory. Really ruins the mood when you have a typo, doesn't it? All is not lost, however. An order of brave knights and priests, known as the Lux Priesthood, have begun to march on the hobgoblins, promising peace and prosperity that their rulers have denied from them. But all is not as it seems, for in Drelek, some truth is merely well-hidden lies. Yeah, now you can actually read it without having to worry about it scrolling. I just saw an opportunity to make a Star Wars scrolling title joke, and I couldn't not take that, to be honest with you. So this is basic information about Drelek, giving you a bit of an idea of the year, what's going on, and some of the bit of worries that is going on over the world. This is all basically from the point of view of people in Gregoria. You'll see in a little bit when I bring the map up that you saw a little glimpse of earlier where Gregoria is, but just it's basically human nation. The world does have a map and it does have different continents. Gregoria is the mostly human continent. So we have several different threats that are happening. Goblins attacking outlying villages, strange rumors of a hobgoblin army coming across the sea, and the fact that dragons are suddenly flying overheads. But don't worry, we have a group known as the Lux Priesthood who are coming to save us. Or are they? So, this is our world map. So, I made this world map with Incarnate. It's a really, really good basic way of drawing maps. There is a premium service for it and a free service. I used the free service. But this is the map. This is our world map, and if you want to make a world map, I would probably suggest Incarnate. I'll put like a link to it or something. It's really good. Let's take a look at the different continents then, shall we? With the aid of PowerPoint presentation. Boom, just like that. We now know what that area is called. So the facing this would be the western. Western. I had to do the old compass trick. I have a compass there, but it doesn't actually say any of the directions in it, so it didn't really help me. I think it's just there for style. So, Gregoria is the western human continent, as we can see. This is where our players are. They are currently up in the mountains. It is mainly where humans exist, where most of the human capitals are, and where mostly humans live. You do get other races come in there. It's not just 100% humans. Most of the world is multicultural. Gregoria specifically will let anyone in. They won't really stop you. They may have some issues with certain races, or you may face prejudice if you're certain races, but that's kind of a common theme with a lot of D&D as a whole, or the world as a whole. This is where our players are. This is where their story began. This probably isn't going to be where their story ends, unless they fuck up really, really bad, and then they will be where their story ends. But it's human settlements, a lot of humans. In the mountains that you can see, there's a bunch of mountain ranges. That's where a lot of our dwarven people live in this world. There are some swamps as well in the forests, and it's hold on, what do you mean you can't see things? Technical issues. Fantastic. I think I know why. It's because the thing is not there. I see why. I'm not checking the comments, by the way, so if you guys are making comments, I can't really check that at the moment. No. We're just gonna re-go through the slideshow, pretend nothing happened, Alright, it should be showing now. It's hard to use slideshow for this. I thought that would make it easier, but apparently not. If not, I'll just swap over to the Roll20 because it has the map on it anyway. I just wanted the fancy names. Yeah, I'm going to swap over to the Roll20 then. That's really weird that it showed the text, but it didn't show that. Yes, well, heckling was bound to happen. So we will go over to the Roll20. And I will just show you the map via the Roll20. There we go. Now we just have the map anyway. So we'll zoom out and we'll look at the map through this way. Everything, as what I previously said, stands. So over here, if you should see the ping, you should see the ping. That's Gregoria. That's where our humans live. That is where our players currently are. If we zoom in really close, I can tell you exactly where the players are. So, you kind of can't see it, because it was meant to be hidden. But right here, there's a little bit of a camp that you can see there. That's where our characters currently are, right in the mountains. Now, when our characters started their quest, they were all the way down here. Right here. They started their quest in a little town called Redemption. But we're getting ahead of ourselves there. Talking about the world for the moment. We'll continue talking about that, then we'll get on to where our characters were or where they are now. So, I'm going to zoom out again. So we've spoken about Gregoria, humans, loads of different places, a lot of forests, some swamps, a lot of little villages outlining the areas. You can see that we do have a few bigger keeps and bigger townships. That's a lot of stuff there. We do have some ports in areas like here, where that ship is. Usually, if there's a ship on the map, it generally means that there's a port somewhere near there. Let's zoom in a little. We also have a wizarding school here, wizarding tower. Didn't mean to do that. Don't know why it thinks the map's a token. But that's Gregoria in a nutshell. Humans, dwarves, ruling leaderships of knights and lords and kings and shit. Right over here, this is what we refer to as the Red Sands, or it's what it is referred to by a lot of people. The Red Sands, the Far East, the mythical East. There hasn't been a lot of dealings with the East. It's just the last 200 years or so. So it's still a little bit of a mystery. That's why if you look at the map, there's not a lot on there. The reason there's not a lot on there is because people haven't actually made the maps yet. So I figured I would keep with that aesthetic. If the people generally know about it, it's on a map. If the people don't know about it, it's not really on the map. So we can see that there are some kind of tribal villages. These are mainly orc villages. All your orcs in Drelek come from the east. They come from the Red Sands. Your hobgoblins come from the Red Sands. Anything of that kind of nature tend to come from that area. You also get further up in the more mountainy areas where we have a keep right here. And in the more grayed areas, that's where you tend to get stuff like your Tortoise, your Elemental Genasi based races. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit foreign to a lot of the world. Like I said, the biggest threat at the moment is coming from here. People seem to think that there's a big army of hobgoblins getting on their boats and traveling across. Although, some people don't think that's true. Some people think it's a false flag or fake news. We're then going to look at the other continent right down here. This is basically our elven continent. This is where our fancy elves live. So, tiny little bit of history since we're looking at the map. A couple 100 years ago, in this world, the elves separated. They basically had a bit of a tiff, bit of a falling out, because someone thought they were supposed to be king when the previous king died, but turns out someone else had some other ideas. Yeah, didn't really like the idea of you ruling, so I took it. There was an event called the Brother War, or the Brotherhood War, depending on who you talk to. Elves had a bit of a tiff, had a big fight. The elves that lost were banished from the lands and told to essentially fuck off. And they decided that they would do so, and in doing so, would go to live underground. This map does not include a map of the Underdark. The Underdark is a separate place with a separate map, but my characters, my players, haven't seen that yet, so I didn't feel it was necessary to show you. If they haven't seen it, you shouldn't see it, essentially. But the High Elves won. They have the continent to themselves now. They have a lot of big fancy keeps. They keep a lot of their wooded forest areas because they believe that they shouldn't tear it down. There are also wood elves. Essentially in this world, the High Elves were the big winners. They won the war. They claimed the territory. They kept what was quote-unquote theirs. They became the ruling class of elves in general. the Dark Elves got sent to live underground. They created the Underdark, or the Kingdom of the Underdark, and kind of down there. They'll come up from time to time. Certain people will for certain reasons, but mostly they're down there. Now, the Wood Elves are essentially the people who didn't want a war, or who participated in the war but decided that they weren't true winners. People who realized that the war kind of fucked up everything all the elves had going for them, and decided that they would forego their fancy way of living. They wouldn't take to the Underdark, but they would lead a simpler, more nature-attuned life. So they went and lived in the woods. A lot of them do still live in the Elven continent. They do still live in the forests of that Elven continent, but don't often get involved with the High Elves, who actually control most of the continent. Then we're going to look at the last larger landmass. I kind of mentioned it a little bit in the intro. It's up here. It's called Drake's Wood. Drake's Wood, or Drakewood, is essentially where all of the dragons now live. When humans started crawling out of their caves and started becoming a bit more sentient and started to discover magic, the dragons, a race that existed long before them, kept a close eye on them and didn't like what they saw. As humans got older and older and older and developed their civilization and became more warlike, they weren't fans of it. They decided that they were going to completely split off from the rest of the world and were going to live their own lives, not having to worry about the idiots of the rest of the world. Some may think this is a good idea. Some may think of this as a really bad idea. I liked it. Keeps dragons out of the main story. I have a lot of ideas for dragons that will come in time. I noticed someone in the chat realized that Hoot is there. Hoot is there. I will get to Hoot and why Hoot exists in this world and who the hell Hoot is as soon as I can. But the dragons split off. They decided to essentially become isolationists, if anything. They wanted to keep to themselves, but some of them didn't. Some of them decided that, actually, you know what? We think these humans are good. We think we can nurture these people. We think we can make them live better lives. The dragons had no problem with these people. They decided, you know what? Go. If you want to go out there and you want to go and try to make these people better, that's fine. You're welcome to come and go. And that's how Dragonborns happen. The dragons that left gave away some of their immortality, some of their strength, some of their power to become more mortal. And over the generations, the thousands of years that have happened, they have become more human-like and humanoid in appearance. Every dragon that exists in any of the other realms outside of the Drake's Wood have become that way because of generations of breeding and intermingling with the human populace or the other humanoid populace of the world. They are also the only people allowed to go back into the Drake's Wood. Drake's Wood is anyone that tries to go there that's not a Dragonborn is essentially roasted alive. I can see there's a lot of good talk about Hoot going on. Hoot is a good boy. Hoot is best boy in some people's eyes. And they're not wrong. But the only other thing I can say about the map while I'm here is you can see that there are a bunch of small little islands. Those are small little islands. They have their own lords and rulers. And perhaps one of them is ruled over by a certain individual that the party might need to see at some point to gain some help. But we'll get to that when it's time. So we have a very basic overlook of our world. We have a basic understanding of the little bits of it. Who are our players? Who the fuck are the characters that I root against or actively want to die? Because some of them you will probably want to die. So on that note, we're going to swap over and we're going to look we're going to look at our characters, and I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory about each one. So first of all, tiny little bit of backstory about me as a DM. Fantastic DM that does my Friday campaign by the name of Tara taught me that a really good thing to have is an area for all of your little players to go and sit and mess around with and draw strange images when they're not on a main map. I took that this was a good idea. I took this idea. I stole this idea. And I created what I think is probably one of the best iterations of this. And that's the DashCon ball pit. So whenever I have a fun zone, it is now the DashCon ball pit. Because who doesn't like the DashCon ball pit? If players are really good, I'll give them extra time in the ball pit. So let's have a look at our characters, and I will say first and foremost, some of this art is raw. You can tell the art that was done by me, and you can tell the art that was taken from something else. We do have an artist who has officially joined on with the campaign and who I've commissioned and will be doing official art for all of our characters. Main villains, main characters, main allies. They will all get official art over the coming weeks and months. And in fact, I actually have the first finished piece of one of our characters, and I'm really excited to look at it. I feel rude because I didn't realize the artist was messaging me as I was doing this. So if you heard some beep boops in the background, that's just the artist saying, hey, I finished one of the commissions. So maybe if you're nice, as a treat, I will show you the commission once I've went through some of the characters. So I know we all want to talk about Hoot. I know he's there, and I know we want to talk about him. But what we're going to do is we're probably going to talk about everyone else first, and we'll leave Hoot for last. Right, so, you know what? We will do it. We'll do the old gang first, then we'll do the newer character. So, we'll start off with everyone's favorite character, I think. I think we'll start off with that. If I can remember the... There we go. I remembered it. It was Shift Z. Right, okay. So this Spartan orc is our character's paladin, played by an individual named Shadow. I will just give out basic names. I won't give out people's full names because that'd be a bit weird. He's a paladin. He is a half-orc. Originally wanted to play an orc, and then I explained to him that at that time, orcs had like a -2 mod to their intelligence, and with his stat allocation, his character would have been dumb as fuck. So I decided to tell him, maybe you should consider playing a half-orc. I'm aware that orc has been fixed somewhat now, but when this happened, that wasn't out yet, so we settled with half-orc. He is a paladin. He's a male paladin. His name is Dar, D-A-R. Absolutely no connection whatsoever to the fact that we have a character, we have a player in our cast called Devon. It wasn't trying to steal his name whatsoever. That's that's just a circumstance. He's a paladin to his own creation god. I believe Vira is her name. I probably should have had notes about that open, but yeah. His whole goal at the moment seems to be the fact that he has a dragonborn friend where he lives in the Red Sands, because he is an orc. Most orcs come from the Red Sands. Has lost a very valuable treasure, a gemmed dragon's eye, and he is trying to get it back for them. He's a paladin of devotion, but let's just say sometimes he's not great at remembering his oaths, and that might have led to another character having to be invented to keep him in line a little bit. Such fantastic moments of Dar in the sessions that you've missed include having his shield stolen from him by a goblin because it was that or kill him, and also breaking down a door to seeing a human and a tiefling having sex when everyone else knew what was going on in the room, but decided to let him break down the door anyway because it would be funny. He has went down so many times. I feel bad. He's getting better, though. He's getting better. He's also not got the best health. But let's not worry about that. Since we've talked about it, we will now hop over to one of our other starting characters, the group's cleric. This is Insindra, who is being played by a wonderful friend of mine called Caitlin. Wasn't saying that Shadow's not a wonderful friend of mine. I get that's probably how that sounds, but didn't actually mean it to sound like that at all. But yeah, this is Insindra, a half tiefling, half orc. I don't want to imagine that marital that marital intercourse that first night of the wedding, because I imagine there was probably a lot of fire involved. She is, oddly enough, the group's cleric. I know, you look at that, you wouldn't guess cleric. You wouldn't guess cleric at all. She's very good. A bit of a life of the party. Loves to have a little joke. Loves to talk. Loves to spur Dar on to doing terrible things. And actually has done pretty well. Not a full-on murder cleric like some clerics I know. Looking at you, Davos. But still does pretty well for herself. Actually, I believe she is a life cleric as well, so that's going to be fun when she starts realizing that she can murderize absolutely everyone. But we'll come to that when the time comes. Lovely little thing I love about Insindra. Her spiritual weapon is just an inflatable mallet. Don't know how inflatable mallets exist in this world. Haven't thought about it yet. But when I was given the opportunity to have a inflatable mallet whack noise whenever she summoned spiritual weapon, I said, yeah, I'll allow it. Don't know what spiritual guardians will be. That's going to be a fun time when eventually she gets spiritual guardians and she has to decide what her spiritual guardians are going to look like. Another fun thing about Insindra is the owner of the Necronomicon. Don't think I need to really say any more about that. It was an idea that the person flew around to me that Caitlin mentioned, and I kind of just allowed it. And kind of ended up becoming like a magical, book that has a lot of connections and might actually play a major role in the story. But we'll see about that when we come to another character. I'm going to put a warning before I show this character. The reason being is that his face might terrify you or make you laugh uncontrollably. It's usually one or the other. Yeah, just gonna let that image speak for itself for a moment. I would love to know what people think this is. Like, what people think, what race. Alright, I'll do some chat interaction. For those of you in the chat that know D&D, and don't fucking say if you know. Don't fucking say if you know, okay? What race do you think this is? It's sad because I think everyone in the chat actually knows. Okay, so this is a Goliath. Apparently this is just what Goliaths look like in this world. You know what? I love this because this character, character by the name of Wilk, is played by a friend of mine called Sam. And Sam, an author, a published author, whom book you can buy right now online. Right now. Yeah, I'm going to shill for Sam on a stream that 8 people are watching. He came up with this character. He specifically made this image. Like, this image is of a plasticine creation that he made himself with his own 2 hands. And I gotta love that kind of commitment. There's like, I'm not gonna draw my character. I'm gonna fucking make my character with my own bare hands. And it's gonna look fucking terrifying. Rightly so, during the very, very, very first session, Wilk, the barbarian Goliath, managed to intimidate the owner of the bar that they were in with a banana. He had a really high roll, and there was no way that I couldn't give him a success for looking like that, rolling in like the 20s and holding a banana threateningly. I don't even know how someone holds a banana threateningly, but they did, and I was like, yeah, I fucking gotta give it to him. Someone looked like that, was about 7 foot tall, came at me, asking me for information with a banana, I would fucking tell him my credit card information without hesitation. But Wilk isn't really alone, because Wilk always has a friend with him. A friend by the name of Won't. The name Wilk and Won't is a very, very obscure joke that I only recently found out the obscureness of it. I'm not even going to bother showing it right now, but it's a series of adverts for cigarettes. Oh, no, it was coffee. It was coffee. For some reason, I thought it was cigarettes. Yeah, it was Wilkins and Wonking's coffee. If you have a moment, not right now, just YouTube that, because they're weird and terrifying. And it's just right that this character got its name from something as weird and terrifying as those videos. But he has a kind of symbiosis friend in the form of a living, sentient, biological sock puppet that at one point during the first few episodes physically took over Wilk and turned him into a flesh golem boss that the entire party had to fight. And it focused almost all of his attacks on one character. I wonder who that was. It probably couldn't have been the paladin named Dar, could it? I don't know what the fuck even my game is. It's just a bunch of shit that happens. It's a bunch of shit that happens where I'm trying to tell a story and then people just threaten someone with a banana, or kick in a door where a tiefling and a man is having sex, or buy drugs from a tiefling in a bar. It's a weird string of events that happen. Anyway. That's Wilk and Won't. They're weird, fantastic. I have a plot line hooked up for them because I have to. When you have something like that, it's amazing. And now I think it's only fair that we move from the weird, terrifying, comical character of the party to that one space that's always beloved in my heart, that every party needs, that I often end up playing. And that's the little bit of the edgier one, the little bit of the edgier characters. So this is Nirastine. I hope I've finally said that name right after butchering it like several billion times. Nirastine is, I think it was right. Nirastine is the drow of the party, played by a good friend of mine called Kara. They're a wonderful, very interesting character, as a lot of the edgier characters tend to be. I'm not playing favourites at all. And they have a lot going on for them. They're a bit of a selfish character. They kind of stay away from the rest of the group. They're kind of that character that's a bit forced into helping the party, forced into being there. And they obviously don't like it. But they're getting that feeling at the moment where the party is their idiots. And they feel a little... I started to feel that they feel a little bit possessive of their idiots. Not because they care about them, because they don't care at all. They're not a Sunsun. They just think that they're their idiots. Nirastine is the party's ranger. rip rangers. For playing a ranger, honestly, a character class that is a lot weaker compared to a lot of the stuff. They actually do really well. They did some good damage. They're one of the better ranger subclasses as well. Believe Dread Ambusher, which is one of the more funner ones up there with your Horizon Walker and your newly included Fey Ranger. They are a drow. They were at one point living in the Underdark, and they made their way up from the Underdark. They're of royal blood as well, so they're very lordly. They have the noble background, and they it shows in the way they act and the way they talk, and they're very well played. They had, as rightly brought up, a fantastic sniper fight against a goblin archer. Now, near the end of the very first session, I set up a nice big battle scene. And I set up some slightly improved stat goblins that were there to act as little fun fights to fight their counterpoints. And I thought, Neristine's a ranger. He's got really good dex, longbow, all of that. And I thought, you know what would be great? If I have like a little setup situation where Neristine has a sniper battle with a goblin, and she can prove that she's the better of all of them and kill this goblin in a turn or two, wipe it off the face of the earth and prove the superiority of her race. That duel lasted 7 rounds. Many misses happened. Many. It was unfortunate. The goblin died. They won. Don't get me wrong. They won the fight, but it was a little bit longer than intended. Let's just leave it at that. Another interesting thing about Neristine, coming from the Underdark, Neristine has a curse put upon her. Or some would say it's a curse, some would say it's a gift. And that curse/gift is that Neristine changes gender. So this image is of female Neristine. And then if you look just above her, I will pop it up for you. This is male Neristine. Both equally as broody and edgy. It's to do with the character's backstory. I won't get too much into it now because that will be letting out too many of the secrets and the fun that will be happening as the story goes on. But that's a Neristine male form and female form. I believe at the moment Neristine is in male form. So when you go into when we go back into the campaign and I stream from where we picked off, this character will be the one that you're seeing, not female Neristine. Right. Now, before I go to the next character, there's something that someone has mentioned that rightly needs to be brought up. And that's a character that's missing from here, named Asher. I will see if I can quickly grab a picture of him. There we go. Without showing you too much, I don't think. Oh, there was a spoiler there if you saw it, but you don't fucking know what it is, so if I take a closer look, this could be the group's Tortoil, a character by the name of Asher, a rogue who existed in a one-shot that I ran previously. That one-shot was possibly going to turn into a campaign, but some things happened, it didn't turn into a campaign. One of our players, Devon, who runs this character and another character that I showed you, asked to transfer Asher over. And via the bullshit that is the fact that in my universe, Nicolas Cage exists as a plain old traveling wizard, I sent Asher to this universe and essentially nerfed him. He was level 5 or 6 in the other one shot, and I moved him all the way back down to level 3. The way I explain this is that this is just a tougher world. You live in a tougher world here. You're a little bit weaker. And some of those traits that you remembered how to do in the other world, well, they were lost in transition. Asher existed in the first part of the campaign. However, I spoke with Devon, and Devon felt like testing out a character idea that he has for another campaign that me and him are in on Saturday evenings. And that's the character we'll get to next. And I like the character. I think there was a lot going for it, a lot that I could weave into my story, and I allowed him. Basically, Asher is MIA at the moment. At the end of the first, I guess, 2 sessions, our group got tricked by a drow bard, and basically got all put to sleep. And the entire party got sold into slavery, which is how we got to the campaign that we are, the area that we're in now, the dungeon that we're in now. Yes, whoops, all slavery. It was fantastic because I posted about that on my Facebook, and it's great because if you look at my updates for D&D on Facebook, it goes from an image of this party in the Always Sunny font that says the gang gets sold into slavery, and then the next D&D post I make is about my Friday group where the gang discuss whether or not slavery is good. And it's, so apparently slavery comes up a lot in my D&D games. Don't know why. Bit weird. Says a lot. So he also was sold into slavery, but he wasn't sold with our group. He was sold separately. So that's why he is actually not in the he's not in the dungeon they're in at the moment. Moral fiber at risk. When the wizard, warlock, cleric, and other wizard debate the metrics of slavery. Yeah, it was a very interesting discussion. I will leave it at that. But at the moment, Asher is MIA. We may find out about what's happened to him. We may not. He may still be alive. He may have been sent home. We don't know. We'll see what happens. But that brings us nicely on to the other character. This dashing, large quiffed, prime example of genetic purity that is a furbolg is Jaxpzer. Fuck, why does everyone in my game have weird names to pronounce? Nerestine, Jaxpzer, Yaxpzer, that's it. Your name's whatever I say it is, you're in my world. He is recently just joined the group. He is a dashing... I don't know if I should say his class, because I don't think it's fully revealed yet, his class. But he does a lot of Eldritch Blasting. I'll leave it at that. He is a very weird character who, when being sold to slavery, originally thought he was just making new friends. And when he... must be, fighter, 100%. Well, it's funny you should say that, because in Syndra, our cleric used a feat to gain Eldritch Blast. So we do have people that have Eldritch Blast in the party. I'm hoping that everyone at some point takes the Spell Sniper or whatever feat it is and gains Eldritch Blast, so that then every single character just knows Eldritch Blast. I feel like that would be pretty funny. There are ways that I could possibly do that as well, which I won't get into. But yes, he is a fantabulously dressed character as well. He has insane suspenders. Is one of the first points that Devon said when he was telling me about this character. Big, insane, fancy suspenders. And I kind of had to let that happen. He's very, very slim, and he's very tall as well. And his head goes from being quite narrow at the bottom to being quite wide. He's a meme in of himself, like just as his appearance. He's a weird, fantastic character with the strangest voice. I won't try to imitate it. I'll leave that. if you want to hear his voice, you have to watch the next stream where we actually will be streaming a game, because it's a weird, wonderful voice that I can't possibly imitate. He's a fantastic character. And actually, since we're talking about him, you can't talk about Yakuza without talking about his little friend. And that is... Wait for it. Hold to build suspense. His Pact of the Chain familiar. Seymour. It's a wonderful name for a crab. For a spider crab. For a Japanese spider crab that shouldn't exist in this weird fantasy world. But when making a character, when you hear that someone wants a Japanese spider crab as their warlock pact of the chain creature, you have to say yes. And then it's added on top of that Yakuza basically found this species and decides that he's going to name this species, and decides to name the species Dave. So now, in my world, Japanese spider crabs not only exist, but they're referred to as the Dave crabs. Which is kind of what D&D is all about, if you ask me. The Dave crabs. I can't take it seriously, and these are my players. These are what I have to deal with. Interesting thing as a note, wait, is Dave his surname? Does that mean his name is Seymour Dave? Seymour Dave sounds like you're asking Dave to show parts of himself to you. It sounds like an instruction for Dave to show more of him. Okay. Right, okay. Notes on Seymour Dave. David Seymour is a weird part because the only cat creature that a warlock can get is yeah, this is why we don't stream things. It's things like this. Seymour Dave. I can't say it. I'm just gonna say Seymour, because if I say Seymour Dave, I crack up. Seymour Dave sounds like a whore. It sounds like someone in a whorehouse. Okay, all right. I need to move on from this because I can't. Okay, so rules say that the only familiars that can have that are crabs are crabs. I thought that was boring. Devon could have power played and got pseudo dragons and other hype stuff that could have led to him being really strong, but he was set on this. So I said, you know what? I'm going to look up, is there an enhanced version of a crab? If there is an enhanced version of a crab that's not too overpowered, I'll let you have it. Giant crabs do exist in D&D. There is a monster sheet for giant crabs. So I thought, you know what? I'll give him a giant crab. It's not too overpowered. Yes, it has a grapple ability, but the DC to get out of it's really easy. So I thought, you know what? I'll give him a giant crab. I'll let him have a giant crab. So that's how Seymour Dave came into being. He's a very friendly crab. He has a little name collar on as well, and he has an associated sound effect for whenever he appears. It's a little scurrying noise. He has died once already, but luckily he is eternal. Seymour Dave is eternal. You cannot kill Seymour Dave. He will simply return. On that note, maybe it's time to move over to another character. When we get into characters now, this is going to be more of our characters controlled by me, NPCs. But NPCs that I feel have enough importance to warrant showing to you guys and giving a little bit of background information on. So we're not going to start with the one that everyone wants to see. We're going to start with probably the most story important character, and that is this individual here. this is Floric. Floric is kind of one of the... Alright, let me explain crab armor, because people are talking about it. And I'm going to be called a coward if I don't talk about it. Okay, so, as you may know, if you play Warlocks, Warlocks have a Flock of Familiar spell. A spell that allows them to ritual summon more familiars. I decided that it was good for him to have that. Devin seemed to love the idea of being able to summon even more Seymours. So we went with it. But then the idea came about that what if... I'm glad someone loves Floric. More people need to love Floric. I'll get into Floric in a minute, though. But so someone decided, hey, what if all these crabs, like, conjoined on someone and made, like, a living suit of armor? Now, there's another joke in my Friday campaign from an image taken from some comic book of a man wearing a bunch of babies attached to himself, saying baby armor. And we discussed, how does baby armor work? Is there a way to make baby armor work in D&D? Can we get baby armor? That was a very long, very comical discussion. And this kind of made me think of that. And I thought, right, can I make crab armor where it would be fair, not overpowered, but also there would be a reason to do it? Like, it would have to have a bonus. It has to do something good. And I wanted it to be more than just your AC goes up. So, what happened? Flock of Familiars was ritual cast. Several other Seymours came into being and immediately wrapped themselves around Wilk, our barbarian, and I gave him the bonuses that was crustacean armor. Crustacean armor, for anyone that wants to use it, you probably don't, because it's not that great. Crustacean armor means that for every crab that attaches itself to you, you get 10 temporary hit points. 10 temporary hit points that cannot be recovered. Once they're gone, they're gone. You also gain bonuses. You gain advantage for intimidation, because I don't know about you, but if someone came up to me wearing armor of living crabs, I would be fucking terrified. But there is a drop down. You gain disadvantage for any dex checks that you have or dex saves, because you're wearing crabs. This will bog you down, and you also lose 10 foot of movement. A lot of crazy shit happened with crab armor. The crabs wrapped themselves around Wilk got a crit, and so the way they styled the crit was that all the crabs wrapped around one arm so that he made a giant mutant, I can only describe it as Resident Evil tyrant arm, and smacked the shit out of a zombie. They formed to make weapons. It was literally just creativity going crazy with what can we do when crabs connect to our characters. It was dumb, but I allowed every moment of it because it was fucking hilarious. And crab armor just exists now. I have some plot or some developments for crab armor, but I won't go into that now. The Wilk Zord does exist. Can we just think about that for a second? Because look at the character. So this is Wilk. Wilk is terrifying. Wilk is terrifying on his own. But now he has crabs connected to his body, forming armor? That's fucking terrifying. Crab armor. Oh, okay. Right, I need to move on from crab armor. Right, we're going back to Floric. We're going back to the good one. Okay, right. So, Floric is kind of what caused most of this to happen. The entire first, I guess, one-shot or original idea that existed was that all of our team met in a little inn called in a town called Redemption. They were there for various reasons. Some of them were there to go to other places. Some of them were there because they were on their way to hand in goblin heads for coin, because of the bounties. There was various reasons, but they all made their way to this inn. As they were staying and getting to know each other, an emissary from the Lux priesthood came in and explained to everyone there that there was a fugitive that they were following. That fugitive was a warlock who killed one of their priests, and they have been chasing them all the way to redemption. That they knew that they were in this tavern, but they had the ability to disguise themselves and make themselves look unlike themselves, and that they were in this tavern, and that they didn't have the ability to seek them out yet, but they would soon have the ability to seek them out. And that everyone... Oh my god, I just fucking got... Devon, Seymour has fan art. Yeah, Seymour has fan art now. Oh, fantastic artist. I don't know if they want me to say their name. I won't say their name. Just for now. When I get the go ahead to say their name or their page, I will do so. They're in the chat. They are VexiWoo03. And they've decided to take it upon themselves to make Seymour. He's got the little bib collar on and everything. This is amazing. This is amazing. I gotta send this to you. I gotta fucking send this to you live on stream. This completely just caught me off guard. I didn't expect this. I didn't think this was gonna happen. It looks like him as well. Okay. Right, no, I'm being serious. Okay, right, I'm being serious. Okay, so they went in there. The priesthood said, you guys can't leave because any of you could be this warlock. They basically gave a warning to everyone that anyone in here could be this warlock. Don't trust anyone. The gang took it on themselves to try to hunt down the warlock. And it turns out, after 2 hours, when the paladin realized that they literally had a spell that could point out people who were fiends or celestials, divine sense. They remembered they had divine sense, and they found this individual. This individual is Floric. Floric, as it turns out, is actually an Aasimar, and he's actually a member of the Lux priesthood, which makes you think, why is a member of the Lux priesthood killing other members of the Lux priesthood? In a moment of trusting and understanding, Floric decided to tell the gathered party their story. And their story is that they've discovered that the Lux priesthood is actually up to no good. The Lux priesthood are orchestrating some of these goblin raids and twisting the goblins. Their intent is that they want the people to rally behind them, to show that they know how to deal with the goblins, and that they're there for people, and that the actual governments aren't there for people. And that hopefully they will overthrow the government, they will take control, religion will control the people, and eventually the Lux priesthood can start to get rid of what they see as undesirables, individuals who have committed sins in their eyes, or who are born with sin because of the race that they are. We haven't really developed why they're doing that, like why they suddenly started doing this, but maybe that's something that will happen in future episodes. But our good un here, Floric, upon finding this out, decided that he couldn't in his right mind stay with the Lux priesthood, and turned away from them in searching for a way to bring down the priesthood, to prevent people from being killed and prevent this great cleansing. He made a deal with one of the demon lords, one of the archdukes of hell, and thus has become a fallen Aasimar and a warlock who wields a cursed blade, the blade of which that Dar every now and then looks at, and Floric has told him on 2 occasions, don't. Just imagine that meme. I can't remember where it's from. That meme where the guy looks at a cute girl, waves, and then another guy interrupts and shakes his head. Just imagine that, except the cute girl is a sword, and the guy leaning is Dar, and Floric is just leaning in and going, no. They believed Floric. That led them to help him escaping. That led to them having to kill some Lux priests. And that has possibly led them to being wanted. After that, they were sadly caught by a drow slaving band and were sold into slavery. And we'll get into soon who they were sold into slavery and what they're up to now. But that's Floric. Fallen Aasimar. One key part I should say about Floric, and it's a little mistake that I make. In my world, I kind of like to mess around with like ideas, and one of the idea I have is that going by certain biblical references, that angels don't have gender. And in my world, the Aasimar and the Fallen Aasimar reflect that. They don't have a gender. They're not a male. They're not a female. They have no gender. They're non-binary. And I want to, I like inclusion in my stories as well, and I made that as a part of it, more for the old, nice, fun biblical references more than to just have inclusion. So Floric is they. I know I messed up earlier and said he, but no, Floric is they. They are a good one. Yes, I see the request to tag art. I will do that when the stream is finished. But yeah, that's Floric. Floric was not sold into slavery because he went back to get another character that I'll get to in a minute. So where Floric is currently, unknown. They could be anywhere. They could be searching for the group, or they may have just given up on the group at all. We'll see what happens with that. But since we've looked at Floric, it's now time to look at another character. You may have mentioned earlier that our resident paladin isn't so good at keeping to his oaths. Maybe neglects them a little bit, forgets them. Once, when I just said to him, tell me your oaths, I know you fucking had the wiki page open when you read those oaths. I know that wasn't you remembering it. I'm calling you out right here, right now. I know you had the wiki page open. Don't tell me you didn't. I know you did. I could hear you reading the oaths. Anyway. Because he seems to forget some of his oaths, his goddess, Vera, has decided that he needs a little correction. He needs a little somebody around to make sure that he sticks to his oath and remembers them. And then we enter a character that I made called Hera. Hera is a green fae creature that comes in just to mess with Dar. And when I say just to mess with Dar, they exist only in Dar. So what I mean by that is only Dar can see them, and only Dar can hear them. Whenever they appear, no one else knows, no one else can see, no one else can hear them. It's just Dar. So to the other characters, when Hera appeared, they were just talking to themselves. They were rambling, talking to themselves about oaths and stuff. And everyone thought that Dard potentially went crazy. But no. Hera comes in by order of Vera, because Vera is busy doing something that Hera can't talk about, to keep an eye on Dar, to make sure that Dar sticks to his oaths, and that he doesn't do anything that might be seen as not worthy of a paladin of devotion. This started as a little joke with the players, and it evolved into an actual plot device. Hera is kind of a dumb self-insert. It's made deliberately to look like me, just as a joke. The character wears everyday clothing. I've described the character essentially as wearing a hoodie and jeans and carrying a strange magical tablet that they see messages on. It's just a fun joke. It's a fun... Yeah, green in real life. they're just a green fae version of me, just to mess with people and to remind Dar every now and then that Paladin is a character, it's a class that you need to think about when you make decisions, because your god can take your powers away. Smites aren't infinite. They can be taken away. This is a character just to help him keep on the straight and narrow. It's also a character that's going to allow me to bring in some stuff from that religion, to bring in some stuff from Vera, and some possible plot lines later on, having that little connection to the goddess that isn't just the goddess, because the gods and goddesses are great in D&D, but in my world, I don't think that a god's just going to stop everything they're doing to talk to you. Maybe later down the line, when you're really powerful, a god might stop to talk to you. But they've got other things to do. And they're a god or a goddess. They've probably got people that can come and talk to you. So that's where Hera became a thing. Just a little joke. And then that also brings us to another one of these strange creatures that only a single member of the party could see. So this is Nick. Nick the Necronomicon. And I'm real happy when I made that name, because I couldn't think of a name for this character, and I just blue balled it and made like the easiest, simple fucking name I could think of. And it worked with Necronomicon. So basically, as we're aware, Syndra has the Necronomicon, an ancient book that she doesn't fully know how to read. But when she managed to read part of it, a voice came into her mind and delivered her a message. And that voice is Nick the Necronomicon. Say that 3 times. And they're now bound to Syndra. They're now there to teach them how to read the book and possibly gain whatever boons happens from reading the book. Or what other terrible, horrible things happen. Nick was first encountered when our group was bought as slaves. Their owner has brought them to excavate a tomb of a ancient, powerful necromancer named Gaul. While exploring the many rooms of the tomb, Nick made his presence known. And he is essentially he's a lecherous skeleton. He's a skeleton with no legs and ethereal glow, just as pictured, that likes to make lewd remarks and loves to go into a brothel. He first appeared because the character placed the Necronomicon between their breasts to keep it safe. And he loved it. That's one of the main things about Nick is he's lecherous. Lecherous, ancient, and forgettable. He doesn't remember a lot of stuff. He may have been in this tomb before. He don't remember. He's thousands of years old. But he's there to kind of guide the character in terms to reading the book, what the book might gain, and maybe gives you an idea about what kind of force the book might be connected to. We have also had it mentioned that the book itself is a warlock's tome, and why it didn't simply evaporate or burst into flames when the warlock that owned it died. Well, we don't know. Maybe it's got something to do with the fact that Nick is a sentient being in the book, but we'll find out a bit about that. Then we will look at this character. This is the character that's kind of one of the more pivotal NPCs at the moment. He's keeping the party together. This is Malcolm Dalish. Malcolm Dalish in this world is a very well-known explorer, archaeologist, tomb raider, if you will, who has wrote a series of 7 books called The Guide to Living Good when you're Guide to Living at Large when you're dead. He's basically an asshole character. He goes to these tombs. He used to have a group of people that worked with him that were never written about in any of his books. He always grandized himself. He made himself the hero. He plagiarized, made things a bit more epic and adventurous than they were, and sold the books, basically. While investigating the tomb, his entire adventuring party died. And that's why our players are in the tomb at the moment, because he purchased these players off of a drow slaver. and is using them to explore the tomb. He has promised them that if the tomb is completely explored and that the actual final resting place of Gaul is found, he will free them. He will send them on their way. He will remove their restraints, and he will let them go and live freely. A lot of the characters don't believe this. I don't blame them. I wouldn't believe it either. But he seems like he might be honest. We don't know. He's a bit of an arsehole. You know, he's doing it all for money, essentially, just to sell his books. I bet at this point you're wondering, well, why hasn't the party just killed him? Why haven't the party just ran away? Okay, so when I came up with this idea, I thought about that myself, and so I invented an item called Collar of Warding. They're basically, if you've ever watched Battle Royale, it's a Battle Royale collar. It's strapped around their neck. It's got glyphs of wardings on it, so that if someone tries to take it off, it'll explode. I've added to it that if someone tries to run away too far from the group, it explodes. Malcolm himself has been given 2 words, a kill switch word and a free switch word. If he says the kill switch word, all of the collars go off. If he says the free switch word, all of the collars automatically deactivate. It is one of the funnier jokes was that Yakuza thought that it was a friendship friendship necklace when he first met him. It was great. Yet Nerestein did in fact test the limit of this by trying to walk away. I implemented a way to not just kill the characters, but that if they start to walk away too far, or if they start to mess around with the collar too much, it will start to grow bright red, and it could it alerts them that they could be moments away from death. But he's the one leading the party, and by leading I mean he makes everyone else go first, and then is just writing down what they're saying. Now, since we've gotten through all the characters, I know everyone wants to see him. I know that everyone's waiting to see what they think is the goodest boy. So I'll give everyone the goodest boy. This is Hoot. Or Shoot, depending on how well you know him. He's a character that I made up because I was dumb. And I thought it was hilarious. His name is Henry Ornstein Orwell Trenton III. Hoot. He is also an owl-themed Aarakocra. He is also a Batman allegory. He is also an excuse to make fun of one of our characters from a Friday campaign called Davos. Because the reason he's a Batman allegory is that when he was traveling around the world and spending his riches, his fateful elven manservant Davos was killed in an alleyway. And since then, he has been hungry for justice. This character is one of my favorite characters I've ever made because he's a dumb joke, but he works so fantastically. I made him a fighter. He has sharpshooter, the feat, and I didn't realize that making him a fighter sharpshooter made him extremely broken. In the one shot that he was designed for, I saw no reason to ever not use the sharpshooter ability, which means that he's -5 to hit, but he's +10 damage, because his dex was so good that even taking the -5, he's still at +5. If I shoot arrows normally with Hoot in that one shot, he's +10 to hit. It's insane. The character is dumb. He's Owl Batman, and yet he snipes people like no one's business. He's mental. He was so good that when making characters for this campaign, I decided that since Asher has already been transported here by Nicolas Cage, fuck it, I'll have Hoot come in. Hoot has been transported. The gang met Hoot when they were stumbling through Redemption. And he got transported in the middle of a fight with goblins. And he immediately, being Hoot, didn't wonder where he was. He immediately just started sniping fucking goblins. It was amazing. I love him. He's an arcane archer as well, so he gets to do bullshit magical arrows. He prevented a fight in a one-shot with what could have been a painful fight against an undead dragon because he realized that it was going to be an undead dragon and immediately found ways to stop the undead dragon and told people, knock those bones down because I'm sure someone's going to bring those bones to life. He's also an excuse for me to talk very posh and British because he's a sir. Because that meant that I can have him be Sir Henry Orville Ornstein Trenton III. So he's Shoot. He's an owl Aarakocra who only uses a bow, who only uses arrows, and the two names that you can call him are Shoot or Hoot. He's a joke, but he's a joke that will murder you. Who isn't the dumbest character in that one shot? It's amazing. Oh yes, I should note, Hoot is only Hoot to his friends. If he's not, he's an enigma. He's an enigma. He's an enigma wrapped in a mystery, clothed in confusion and darkness. Yes, Hoot will only allow you to refer to him as Hoot if you are his friend. The same with Shoot. If you are not his friend, he requires that you always give him his full title of Sir Henry Ornstein Orwell Trenton III. And that's Hoot. It's a lot to get through, and that's probably not even everything. But that's kind of where we are now. The characters... Oh, probably shouldn't show that, because you can see things that you shouldn't be able to see. You may have seen something there for a split second, but don't worry about it. The group at the moment are trapped in... Yeah, that's another really good way of having NPCs. You don't need to say Hoot's full name. I won't have any fucking NPCs talk to him. Hoot has made good friends with Asher and I believe Nirestein. He bowed to Nirestein because since he is nobility, because he's a sir, he knows nobility when he sees it and gave Nirestein the correct respect that she deserves. It was a she. Yeah, she was in the she form at that point, yeah. So, that's where we are now. The group are currently in a dungeon called Garl's Tomb. They are... yeah, there's more Seymour art. Push Seymour. Push Seymour for Smash, everyone! Fuck putting a Kingdom Hearts character in Smash. Give me this crab. Give me this obscure crab from a D&D game that maybe 8 people know about. Seymour for Smash. Seymour for Smash. Okay. Yeah, the group are now currently enslaved. Currently in the middle of a tomb belonging to an ancient necromancer that no one really knows anything about other than his name is Gaul. They have encountered numerous zombies. They have been critted. A paladin critted a zombie and did the lowest possible amount of damage. And then got critted back by a zombie who did more damage. No, don't worry. I love your art. Your art's fantastic. Don't worry about apologizing for the fan art. It's fantastic. It's fucking well done. And think about it. When you see that they had like what, maybe 10-15 minutes, and they did art like that. They're fucking fantastic. Seriously, when this video gets posted, I will. So this video is going to be posted. It's going to be on my Twitch. It's also going to be posted on the YouTube that my friend Devon puts all of his streams up. That's why this is called Zero Value D&D. He has a channel where he has he has a channel where he streams his video games and puts the videos up. Zero Value is the name of it, because there's absolute no value in the videos whatsoever. Don't watch them. Watch them, they're hilarious, but don't watch them because there's no value in them whatsoever. And I thought, since we wanted to stream this, I don't have a YouTube channel. So if we're gonna have a YouTube channel to put this on, it might as well be that one. And this D&D game has no value whatsoever. So Zero Value D&D sounds about right to me. And this will be the first video in the playlist for it, where you see me have technical difficulties and ramble on about a crab and make jokes that some people will never get. But that's it. I went over basically where we are now. When these videos get put up, I will ask Devon in the information about the video to put a link to our artist. Fuck, it's only been 3 months. They will put a link to our artist so that you can follow them. Please follow them. Their work is fantastic. Their commissions are open, I believe. You may have to check that with them. I know they were open for me when I requested this art, but I don't know if they're always open. You will need to message the artist themselves about that. Remember, I'm primarily going to try to be using this with this whole D&D as much as I can, as much as they can. Most of the art is going to be provided by them, especially since we're moving over to streaming. I don't like streaming if I have art from sources that I do not know. I will be moving over to using them for as much art as we physically can. All of our characters will have art by that artist soon. I have Floric's art now. I'm gonna see if I can try and find a way to show that to you guys, because I think it'll be a really nice way of ending this, to see Floric and to see the Seymour fan art that has been made, because it's fantastic. I love it. I think the art's honestly amazing. I didn't ask them to do the Seymour art. I feel really bad because it's really good and I didn't pay for it, and I hate not paying for art that, especially of this quality. So I'm gonna try and find a way of I think I know what I can do. I'll open it up and I'll let me see if I can show you guys this. Let's see if this works. There we go. You should be able to see it. Can you guys? Yeah, you can see it. This is fan art of Dave. Yeah, this is legitimate, fantastic fan art of Seymour Dave. This isn't even the first piece they did. They've done 2 pieces. The character has more fan art than any character I know of at the moment that wasn't made by me. So this is wonderful fan art of Seymour Dave. Not even the first piece of fan art. It's the second piece, but it's so fantastic. I had to show it. It's amazing. I love it. It's the best mascot a group can ask for. Look at that detail. There's even a little name tag. I love it. I love it. It's great. You can see the little eyes. He's got a little like ooh-woo face as well. If you look, he's got a little ooh-woo face. I love that. Let me see. I'll see if I can grab the image of Floric as well. It's a wonderful piece of art of Floric as well. Fantastic detail. I'm gonna swap over to that so that you guys can see it. Maybe a little bit spoilerish, because maybe Floric doesn't look exactly like how you guys who've already seen Floric remember him. So let's have a look at Floric in their new wonderful fantastic art. So if you guys can see it, this is gonna be the new token art for Floric. It's fucking amazing. I love it. Fantastic detail. Some stuff's going on with Floric, and there's some fantastic little details to it that I love. Why Floric looks a little bit different to what he looked like when you guys knew him. I don't think he had that scar last time he saw you guys, or that strange cracking that's going on in his face, or why, in fact, Floric looks so pissed. That was a choice. I'm glad that he looks pissed in that image, because that's the choice. But yeah, that's the stream. I can't honestly think of a better way of ending the stream than with some fantastic fan art and fantastic commissioned art from the artist for the campaign. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this live, wonderful. Thank you very much for turning out. I know a few of you from my other campaigns have turned out to watch this, so thank you very much for that. I can see you in the chat, Davos, having fun, allowing me to mock your character. It's a fantastic, wonderful time. Thank you all for watching, were you live, or if you're watching this on the VOD that will be updated into the YouTube channel later on. Thank you for taking your time watching this. I believe, as of right now, the first session will be taking place next Wednesday at 11:30 GMT, 6:30 EST. I will be promoting that we will be streaming it, so if you have me on Facebook, you'll see that. If I know you via Discords, I will promote my stream on the Discords so that you guys can see that around the time. But once again, thank you very much, everyone, for coming. If you have any questions about the campaign or anything you want to know, please feel free to message me. But until then, signing off on this fantastic piece of art. I hope you all have a good day and take care.